Alrighty, hey there, this is for Period 1 Honors English 10B. This is just a general overview of the class that we just had on Monday. And for the first week, Monday is just going to be a general overview. Some people already did the assignment, but here's what I'm expecting. If you look at the most recent post under Stream, I have your book list. And if you look here, it's a novella list, which is a short book, short novel really, the AP Lit reading list, and then just another list of short books. If you look at that, you can decide from there if you want. Again, I think the longest book in this one here is 160 pages. You'll see the assignment in the stream as well. And if you look at it, it's going to be due May 8th. That's the last day of the 4-week term. 900 pages, or 900 words, 2-page. The general thing is similar to the summer reading. Just give me an intro, like what's the book about, give me a book summary, very, basic. These first two, I think, should be very simple. What I want the most out of is number 3 and number 4. What were its successes and failures, and also what are the deeper insights? Look at the theme, maybe look at figure of language, maybe look at plot structure and see what is the real intent of this book. And then finally, would you recommend it? If you look, just 2 pages, 12-point font, spelling, grammar is going to be looking at that. If you remember, we said in the meeting that we're not going to have citations. So I'll be down with that. If you scroll down, here's what you're going to be graded on. And it's under the analysis rubric. And here are just some books that you shouldn't read. You already read Slaughterhouse 5, Their Eyes Were Watching God, you already read that. The rest here is what you're going to be reading in AP Lit next year. You might want to read Macbeth. It's actually a really good story if you're able to break it down. I would encourage you, if you're going to choose a Shakespearean play, use No Fear Shakespeare. It's easy, and you're able to look at both the original text and a modern day translation. That is the book list right there. And now if you look on the top here, here's classwork. Click on that. Main things that I need, here's your book review assignment. It has the assignment right there and also has the rubric. Here's the syllabus that I mentioned before in that PowerPoint. Let's go ahead and go over that real quick. I'm not going to read it to you. I think you have the ability to do that. But the biggest change here, assignments are going to be worth 60% of your overall grade. And then the 2 quizzes, one will happen next week, and then the second one is your final book review, are going to be worth 40% of your overall grade. And a lay policy, I would like you to please turn it in on Friday, your weekly assignments. But if you need a extension, I'm not going to take any points away, and there isn't going to be a lay policy for anything. Weekly schedule. Monday, you're going to have your assignment 1 Google Meet during 1 p.m. Tuesday is when I'm going to post this kind of video, and that's when you talk to your cheese block teacher. Another thing is that if you need to talk to me, please contact me during Tuesday, Thursday, or Friday if you need to see me outside of those hours. You can contact me whenever, but if I have to contact you, it has to be within the hours of 1 to 3, Monday through Friday. Those are our office hours. And there's going to be a YouTube link, as well as making sure you can contact me via email, Google Classroom, Google Hangout, chat, or if you want and you don't have access to the internet, I might be able to find like a work phone number for you. Wednesday is when we'll have the second assignment lesson plan shown during the meet. For this week, it's going to be the Metamorphosis. We're going to look at the first chapter. If you want to, and read the whole book as your book review, I believe I can find a PDF for you for free. It's more challenging because it's an existential novella, but it addresses really interesting contexts. Thursday, let's see, record lessons for the second assignment. That's when I'll post the PowerPoint and everything there. And then Friday is our final contact point. If you want to, here is the actual schedule for the whole upcoming months. It's all right there. So we will be meeting from 1 o'clock to 1:30, Monday and Wednesday for the Google Meet. And then any other time you need to talk to me, I'll be available from 1 to 3. Or afterwards if you want. And that is it for the syllabus. Final thing I need you to do, I need this today, please. This is the technology form. This just lets me know if you need a laptop or if you have internet. Please make sure you do it today. And then when you scroll to the very bottom of classwork, here's all the content for week 1. Look at that. And it's broken up into assignments. Assignment 1 and Assignment 1 materials. So for Assignment 1 materials, if you still need it, click on this link right here, open up, and you will have the PowerPoint attached, the short story, and the poem. And that is how you rate it. And then if you look right here for Assignment 1, this is Assignment 1, this is material for Assignment 1. If you click here, you will have a copy of it. And you can either, type on your own here. You can just delete all these lines if you want and just respond to all these questions here. This one, please give me a paragraph response, etc., etc. If you already filled this out, if you want to, just take a picture of it and send it to me via email, and I'll grade your first assignment that way if you did it over the break. But really, this one is more of like a refresher if you didn't do it the first week. And let's go ahead and get into the PowerPoint. So this is the same thing that we just saw on Monday. But really, we just went over the syllabus. No problem there. Here's what I want you to make sure that you remember is the plot line. Especially in AP Lit, you're going to have to be doing this a lot for all the stories. So make sure that you know exposition, which is the time, place, and setting, the point of conflict, the rise in action, the climax or the turning point of the story, following action, and resolution. And again, resolution doesn't have to have a moral, it's just a resolve of the story. Theme, this is going to be asked multiple times in your assignment. Please make sure that you have the main idea that recurs in or pervades a work of art or literature. What is the main idea? What is the author trying to say? Allegory, we just did these terms. I'm going to continue moving onward. In the PowerPoint for this is just a refresher of last trimester. And then the big thing is 7 types of literary conflicts. We talked about this before the break, but I just want to make sure that you know these 7 types of literary conflicts. First one's person versus fate, and that's when fate or a god is the antagonist or bad guy. So if you look at the Odyssey, Poseidon was the person messing with the weather for Odysseus, and if you look at Hercules the cartoon, that's where Hades was messing with Hercules and trying to make him remain mortal. Person versus self, this is internal conflict. And really, the biggest enemy is the person and their ulterior motives. So an example that I have here is looking at Darth Vader. And Darth Vader wants to save his wife, but again, he has to commit evil acts, or at least he thinks he has to commit evil acts in order to do that. And unfortunately, he is not successful. Another example is Toy Story, where you have Woody, the leader of the toys of Andy's room, and a new person shows up and kind of threatens that. So because of that, he has to decide and is concerned about his position or social status in that group. And the biggest enemy is his self. Person versus person is really easy. It's just hero versus villain. Any superhero movie, that's the best way to think of. Person versus society. You'll see this a lot within a lot of modern films and stories. So anytime that you see a futuristic story, a lot of the times that it's going to have not only person versus technology, but person versus society. A big example of this is WALL-E, and it was really about environmentalism and how a lot of humans thought that they would be able to solve their problem by just being more dependent on technology. And in that story, you can tell that it didn't work out so well. 1984 is a government that's trying to create security, but is monitoring people as a way to build that security. Fahrenheit 451 is a story that allows the idea that people don't want to know the truth, they just want to have fun. And because of that, any book or knowledge is burnt so that people can't revolt or stand up against that. The final example that I have here is Captain America, the Winter Soldier. And with that, that's looking at the PRISM scandal, which happened in 2007, where the United States, and it still happens today, is recording people's cell phone conversations. And it's part of the Patriot Act trying to combat terrorism. However, some people say that's a breach of privacy. Person versus nature is often similar to person versus fate, but the difference is that it's going to be an animal or a natural event that is the problem. So 127 hours is a person climbing and a boulder crushes his arm and needs to cut his arm off. The Revenant, he has to fight not only natural elements like the snow and winter, but also animals like a bear. And Life of Pi has, again, a person stranded in the middle of the ocean and storms arrive and he has to fight nature in that way, but also there's an actual literal lion that he has to combat. Person versus supernatural also can be similar to person versus fate or God, but this has more of a supernatural effect or evil, spooky idea. So The Conjuring, or anytime you see a ghost or maybe Dracula or the Wolfman. And then finally, the one that we're going to look at the most for our short story is person versus technology. And this is looking at the ability that even though technology can create a lot of things, it can also destroy things as well. And that's the dilemma. It's that dichotomy, as it were, that you have to combat against that. And that's where we get to our story. So, There Will Come Soft Rains is the poem that was written in 1918, as well as a poem written, or a short story rather, written in the 1950s. So, it's going to be person versus technology, but you could also look at other things too, maybe person versus society, or maybe person versus person. But when you look at your part 1 packet, it's going to be based off of the poem, and it's just an idea that, do you think that technology is going to help people or hurt people? If you did this before, again, go ahead and just turn it in, make pictures of it, and just send it to me by email. And here are some sentence frames to help you with that. And here are just some ideas that you're thinking of whether or not technology is good or bad. So the first thing about technology being the salvation or good thing would be CRISPR. So we're thinking in about 20 years, cancer can be eradicated because of this gene editing. And they're doing human trials. They just started at the end of 2019. And that's for adults. And it has a lot of promise there. Another benefit is graphene, which is a type of carbon structure that is stronger than diamonds. So you're able to make super advanced computer chips out of it, or you can build buildings literally miles tall. And they're thinking that that will be a more effective way to send things into space, or helping take away urban sprawl, that you're able to build larger structures out of it. The bad side, destruction, is that currently they're thinking that a third of the workforce is going to be replaced by robotics by 2030. If you look at 2040, it's going to be 70% of the workforce. They're predicting up to that much. Another problem is that a lot of the weapons that we use that are the most destructive, nuclear weapons, are extremely outdated. It's not only until this year and last year that they started replacing old computer systems from the 1970s with more modern computers for the most powerful weapons in the world. And we've seen this happen before, that even though we have this ability to create massive destruction, we can't always control what's going to happen to it. And that happened in North Carolina in the 1960s, where a plane crashed and 2 nuclear bombs almost detonated. And if it wasn't for the striking pin crushing and the impact of the crash, they would have detonated as well. You can also look at the Cuban Missile Crisis and Able Archer in the 1980s. When you look at the poem, please look at World War I as your lens to look at when this poem was written. It was written in 1918. The World War I ended in 1918. This poem was written about 4 to 6 months before the end of World War I. The picture that you see in front of you is no man's land, which the fear is that if this war continued, the entire country that is based around, which was the border between France and Germany, both Germany and France was going to look like this, and if it continued, maybe the whole world would get into this global fight. And that was the concern, and looking at how are people going to be affected, but also how is nature, like animals, going to react to this kind of setting. And then when you look at There All Come Soft Rains, the Ray Bradbury story, it's looking at nuclear war and what happens there. So it's from the 1950s, and that was the major threat from the Cold War. And at its peak, the United States and Russia were able to destroy the entire world about 40 times over. So when you look at both of these stories, please just make sure that you have that as an aspect. And that's about it for Monday. Please let me know if you have any questions, and I'll be available Tuesday, anytime really, from Monday through Friday, anytime. If you need to contact me, email me, and I'll try to respond as quickly as possible. Good luck. I'll see you Wednesday.